We do know that the history of American pizza traces back more than 125 years to today's Manhattan neighborhoods of Soho, Nolita, and Greenwich Village.
To help us navigate this kind of tricky story, we will be joined in the streets of Nolita by Scott Wiener of Scott's Pizza Tours.
You know, since we're talking about pizza all day, and I know you wanted to go to Lombardi's, obviously, I wanted you to meet me at the original location of Lombardi's, which is this building right here. This is the building, 53 Spring Street, and this was Lombardi's, and actually it was a pizzeria even before it was called Lombardi's, probably in 1898 when it was called Pizzeria Napolitana. Then, after a few changes of ownership, becomes Lombardi's after Lombardi buys the business in 1908.
Wait a second. I feel, Greg, like we've just stumbled into some sort of like pizza mythology correction that's taking place here. I thought that the very first Lombardi's opened in 1905.
The story is way more interesting, and actually, this goes back all the way to 1898. Yeah, it's not one of these things where the restaurant claims to be older than they are. It's that they don't realize that they're older than they think they are.
But what would this have been like in 1898?
Back in those days, this was the heart of Little Italy, sort of on the northern edge of Little Italy at that time, but we're right next to Mulberry Street, and obviously the Mulberry Bend, that's the real focal point of the Neapolitan neighborhood. And then just off to the east, a couple blocks, you would have been in Baresi neighborhood, then Sicilian neighborhood, so this was really all heavily newly arrived Southern Italian immigrants.
So when did Gennaro Lombardi himself come over to the U.S.?
Gennaro himself comes over in 1904 in November. He lives with his brother down the street at 89 Mulberry. And somewhere between then and 1908, we think he started working at this pizzeria that was already here, purchased the business in 1908. And since the common lore is that Lombardi's started in 1905, my theory is that he started working here in 1905. The lessor of the space in 1898 was this guy named Filippo Maloney, who paid for the construction of a pizza oven in the space.
And do we know if that pizza oven from 1898 was the first pizza oven in New York City?
We know that it was not. So the story gets deeper. There's two questions here. One big question is, was Lombardi's the first pizzeria in the United States? And the second question is the Lombardi story about them starting in 1905, does that have credence? And the answer to the both is not exactly. So we have evidence that there were pizzerias in New York City in the 1890s, much earlier than Gennaro Lombardi was here and earlier than this pizzeria at 53 Spring Street. The earliest evidence of a pizzeria in anywhere in the United States is a listing at 59 1/2 Mulberry Street back in 1894.
So I guess to be more abstract here, what was pizza then? Like, would the pizza served in that establishment from that oven be recognizable to us today in some format?
This is tough to answer because we don't have photos of pizza at that time. I think the earliest photos we have of pizza in America are not until the 1920s. But what we do know is that pizza has its origins in Naples, Italy, and we know that pizza never really spread around the rest of Italy. It was specifically a Neapolitan food, so it makes sense that it landed in Neapolitan neighborhoods like this where we are right now. We also know that the pizza that they were making was probably not following any strict recipe. It was more of the concept of taking bread dough, flattening it, weighing it down with ingredients, and baking that as a means of cooling down an overheated bread oven. That's probably how pizza had its start back in Italy in the 18th century. So what we would have seen here is probably an Americanized version, meaning that they're still doing the same concept, flattening bread dough, weighing it down with stuff, and baking it. The difference is the oven was different, the fuel source was different, the flour was different, the dairy products were different, which means that the pizza was itself instantly different the second it hit any city outside of southern Italy.